Yes, a very good evening to you, and you're very welcome to another Busy on the Ball on WLR. It's myself, Gavin, wheeling with you between now and 7 this evening. Very shortly, RTE commentator and Limerick native Martin Kiely will dissect the weekend's GAA action, including the rip-roaring hurling Provincial semi-finals. It'll be Tipperary against Limerick in the Munster final, while the Leinster decider will be contested by Dublin and Kilkenny after two epic battles at GAA headquarters on Saturday. We'll look back at another solid weekend for West Waterford golfer Seamus Power, who claims another top 10 on the PGA Tour. Look back at the Irish rugby win over Japan on Saturday. Also, the British and Irish Lions with another facile victory. We'll have reports on the local racing winners from another busy weekend of action, including the card at Tramore. And we'll also build up to the start of the Munster Under-20 Football Championship, which commences on Thursday night. Waterford begin their campaign with a home quarter-final against Clare in Fairfield.
Well, sure, look, I suppose the biggest thing is disappointment to lose the game, particularly when it was real competitive and we were in good shape. And do I need to mention what everyone is talking about, I presume?
I suppose the penalty did change the game, Brian. The interpretation we were given was it was up to the referee. He didn't get a goal scoring opportunity within the 21. It looked to have confused a lot of people. What was the information you got, Brian, to explain that decision?
I didn't get any information to explain the decision. I could just see what happened with my own eyes. And I think the boos at the end of the game from the crowd is a reflection of what did happen. So, I don't know, we're just stunned with it.
Did you have reservations about the rule in general, Brian? Because I suppose it's up to the referee on the day, then the individual has to carry out that decision. But the rule is there in black and white. Did you have any reservations before the championship started with this?
Well, sure. The rule is okay. It's the interpretation is the issue. Like, the rule is there for both teams, so I've no problem with the rule, but it's the interpretation of it.
I suppose you'd argue that you had defenders back.
Well, I had a quick look at it on video there, and it looked like we'd more than one defender back. I don't know how he figured it. It was, I'd say he's probably the only person in the ground that thought it was a goal-scoring opportunity.
Yes, a very good evening to you. You're very welcome to the programme. Monday, the 5th of July, and that was Brian Lohan, the Clare manager, speaking about that big penalty decision, which was a factor in Clare's defeat to Tipperary in the Munster Hurling Championship semi-final at the LIT Gaelic Grounds. And I suppose it is a shame, really, that we're talking about that, or so much of what was a hectic and mammoth weekend of hurling is, focus on a referee's decision. And James Owens of Wexford, of course, sin-binning Aidan McCarthy. Tipperary outscoring Clare by 2-4 to 2 points in that period. Aaron Shanahan deemed to be pulled down then at the other end for Clare. No penalty awarded, and you can sense the frustration. And I suppose fair play to Lohan for coming out. It's never an easy thing to do, and but you could really feel his frustration. He was speaking to RTE's Damien Lawler at the full-time whistle yesterday. But it's the qualifier route for the banner now after that defeat to Tipperary, 323 to 222. In Limerick, it'll be Tip against Limerick in the Munster Hurling final, while the Leinster Hurling final will be contested by Dublin and Kilkenny after they overcame Galway and Wexford respectively in two really rip-roaring semi-finals at Croke Park on Saturday afternoon. And earlier this afternoon, I got a chance to catch up with RTE commentator and Limerick native Martin Kiely to look back and reflect on what was a mammoth weekend of hurling, to discuss the four games. Plus, we talk about the minefield of the qualifiers, the draw for which will be made next Monday, July 12th. But first of all, we just paid tribute to what was an heroic weekend of hurling.
Well, it was pure magic, and from my point of view, early on, I got the sense that Dublin were in the game, because I was very, very surprised at the nervousness of Galway. Their first touch was poor. They struck me like a team that wanted to get the game over and done within 10 or 15 minutes, and then sit back after that. But look, they could have had 2-6 or 2-7 scored in 10 minutes. They didn't. And Dublin set up really well, and Galway actually never came to terms with it. The better team won in the day, and I think, Shane O'Neill, as the Galway manager, has quite a few headaches when they go back to training on Tuesday night to see where it all went wrong and what, if anything, they can do going through the back door. And that will be a sentiment of a lot of managers that lost out over the weekend. The back door is a group of death now, and it's going to take some amount of hurling, some amount of effort and drive to come through that system.
Certainly is a real minefield at the minute, isn't it, when you look at the teams that are in there. And as you mentioned, Martin, Galway, given their league form and that, they looked impressive and looked to be motoring well, but on the day on Saturday, you had a bird's eye view yourself. Dublin just seemed the hungrier team, I think, Martin, all over the field.
Well, sure, look, it's the old story, league is being used by teams and managers for different reasons now. This really wasn't the league as we knew it. It was really like tournament games, and it was a fraud league really because, the scores were high, the hurling was loose. That was never going to happen when it came to championship. Gladly, the referees let the games roll at the weekend. I think they all, for the best part, did a good job in allowing hurling be played, and I think hurling will be the better of that. But look, Galway are very, very disappointed. They were dejected. I saw them coming out of the dressing room. I was with them. I interviewed their manager after the game. They really don't know where it went wrong, and it's going to take an awful lot of hurling for them. And will a lot of the teams, will they have the stomach for it now? That's the big thing, because to try and win this All-Ireland, if you went through the front door, and in most cases you had to win 4 matches, that now could go to 7. And, you take in Galway's case, they might have, 3 or 4 games, trying to win the All-Ireland in 36 or 37 days. It's really an impossible task.
Yeah, it certainly isn't going to be easy. Dublin prevailing 118 to 114, and highly emotional day for Dublin, particularly their manager Matty Kenny as well, Martin. So you could really sense the great satisfaction, I suppose, they greeted Saturday's victory with, and getting through to a Leinster final as well is good progress, I suppose.
Well, it's like we have to take notice of where Dublin are coming from. They've won the minor. They're in the All Ireland under-20 final at the weekend against Cork. They played Wexford in a Leinster final, I think, was it in 2015, 16, I think maybe 15. 7 of that team played against Galway last Saturday. That is an amazing pull-through of players. And Dublin are coming. Dublin have a player base. And if Dublin win something significant in hurling, then that's what they need to really set alight the base of players that they have, because they have a player base that no other county has if they get it right.
Yeah, they certainly got it right on Saturday. Chris Crummey's goal, of course, a big score in their victory. Well deserved against a lacklustre Galway. Second game, probably the game of the weekend, Martin. Extra time, Kilkenny and Wexford really throwing everything at each other, and the Cats again prevailing 237 to 229. Just unbelievable stuff. And I was chatting to someone this morning, actually a parent at a cool camp, Martin, where I was coaching, and the first thing they said was Kilkenny are never gone away. Well,
you took the words out of my mouth, because talk of their demise was greatly exaggerated. And you look at, Wexford got badly caught. They probably were there or thereabouts for the 70 minutes. But the use of their subs, I think, is something that they will have to answer and look at. When you take a guy off and when he's visibly cramping and not performing, at that stage he'd given you it all, and then you go bringing him back in. The Kilkenny subs, they used 7 in total. They contributed 1-9. That's an incredible tally. And a lot of the younger players, the likes of Evan Cody, to a lot of people, they wouldn't have seen him really perform up to now. I think what we saw on Saturday suggests that, Cody is a player of immense skill and talent, a big chap. And Kilkenny are going to make life difficult for whoever they play, because for the simple reason they will give you 100% every day that they go out. And yes, they may not have the personnel that they once had, but does it really matter? They have players on the field. A lot of them are growing in stature, and I think playing in the Leinster final is going to bring them on even more, and they will be seen as the favourites going into that game for sure.
Yeah, they certainly will indeed. And just, I suppose, 70 minutes away from being back in a semi-final then is, I suppose, where Brian Cody always wants to be. Martin, I suppose he's always looking through that direct route, I suppose, isn't he?
And who will want to play them, Gavin? I look at Limerick, they went up and played them in 19, and the general view was they had but to turn up. And what happened? Kilkenny just rendered them useless, for the want of a better word, in that first half. They ground them down and they held on to win by a point. So are Kilkenny better now than they were then? I would suggest that they are. And nobody will want to meet them, Gavin, because they know how to win. They expect to win. And, sometimes that is a huge carrot to have in your bag going into championship matches.
It certainly is indeed. Well, it promises to be an intriguing Leinster final between Kilkenny and Dublin in 2 weeks' time. We'll turn to the Munster action now, and I suppose the dominant talking point was from the LIT Gaelic rounds yesterday as Tipperary defeated Clare by 3-23 to 2-22 to set up a Munster final meeting with defending champions Limerick, who of course will be going for 3 in a row. But I suppose it all hinged on that Tipperary penalty, I suppose, well converted, we must say, Martin, by Jason Ford. But the big thing was it a penalty, and should Aidan McCarthy have got the sin bin?
Well, sure, look, it really is, after what was a great weekend of hurling, that was a very, very good match. Clare performed really well. They were in the game big time at that time, and during that spell, Tipperary scored 2 goals and 4 points. I don't think it was a penalty by any means or measure. The rule... I saw a graph and it showed that he was closer to the centre of the main road and the Innes road than he was.
That's right, yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Being inside the D. So I think James Owens will regret it. I think, we don't hear anything from referees, and I think that's right and proper too. But the reality is it was a really serious mistake. And not good enough at that level. It just should not be tolerated at that level. If a player fouls seriously, he gets a red card. He's sent off. I think, as far as James Owens is concerned, he made a very serious error. It played a huge part in the outcome of the game. Brian Lohan was visibly very, very upset by it, and it's the main talking point out of the game. And that's a great pity, because there was a lot of very good hurling in the game. It shows that Clare, they are short probably 2 or 3 players to become serious contenders. But just like Galway or any other team, few will want to meet Clare now because they'll feel they have a cause. And sure, if the draw is anyway kind, Gavin, will give us Clare and Wexford in the first round of the qualifiers. Wouldn't that be something special?
It certainly would indeed. Brian Lohan and Davy going up against each other would certainly be very tasty indeed, no doubt about it. And I suppose if you look at it down the other end then as well, Clare will argue that Aaron Shanaher was pulled to the ground by the Tipperary defender as well, and no foul given as well. So I suppose there's just goes to show, Martin, the tightness of the margins in these situations, and a 4-point swing or a 6-point swing here or there. It's down to that, isn't it?
Well, a goal in a game now is crucial, and that goal that Tipperary got, that was the foundation on which their win was built on. There were a man down as well at that stage. I don't think Jason McCarthy's foul was silly. Sending him to the bin for it. This was on the verge of the sideline. It was just simply not good enough. Isn't good enough, and I have no doubt that the referees will have their usual get-together in Dublin and in Croke Park. Whoever was the assessor will have his opinion on it as well. But, was there a great deal wrong with the rules the way they were? There wasn't. I think, most referees were able to make up their mind in the day. There was defenders between him and the goal as well. There wasn't a goal-scoring chance on there by any means or measure. Just was not on. So maybe if they might just leave the rules alone, Gavin. Let the game be played. People tinkering with rules, being on committees for the sake of it, it's just not good enough. The game has served us really well. Maybe just leave it alone and let it to be played with a bit of common sense by players and officials. And I think for the best part, it has served us really well.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment indeed. Well, Tipperary won't mind their through to the Munster final, where they'll play Limerick. Limerick 2-22, Cork 1-17 at Semple Stadium on Saturday night. And I suppose again, Martin, all hinged on a couple of moments before half time there, that quick fire Limerick brace. Kyle Hayes with a brilliant second goal, and ultimately I suppose Limerick came good, and I suppose did what they usually did then to close out the game and back in another provincial final.
There's little doubt, Gavin, that Cork got loads of opportunities to be serious contenders in winning that game. They got lots of opportunities. They had chances. They fluffed them. They took wrong options. I think the idea of Pat Horgan coming 100 or 110 yards back to take a free. When you have a defender there that can do that. Maybe it's okay now and again, but in the overall, you need your forwards where they can be best poised to score a goal for you. Limerick, I think John Kiely will have the ash plant out. He has lots to beat them with between here and the Munster final, because that was not a brilliant performance by Limerick by any means or measure. That was not a good performance. He will have learned a lot from it. Yes, it's their opening game. You could see his excitement at the end of the game in winning it, because he saw Cork as a serious threat, and they were, and they did improve from previously, but the reality is they got chances. They didn't take it. Sean O'Donoghue was
very unfortunate
that the deflection went into the goal. That was a killer. But in saying that, they got a couple of great opportunities. They didn't take them. Limerick did to Cork what Cork have done to the likes of Limerick and Waterford over many, many years. They just never went away. They stayed in the game. That was typical Cork. But Limerick not playing well and winning by 8 suggests that there's a lot more there to come out. They'll be looking for an awful lot more from Hegarty and Morrissey in the half-forward line. They weren't hectic by any means. Cian Lynch was really good in the centre of the field. Kyle Hayes was excellent. Nicky Quaid was brilliant in the goal again. So look, they've lots to go with. They've plenty of machinery to go on to a Munster final, and I think it'll be a brilliant Munster final. Fellas are saying that Tipperary are a bit older and all that sort of stuff. Yes, they are, but Tipperary don't have to do as much running as other teams, because they have all really good stickmen in every line, and they'll give loads of it to Limerick. They will relish the game, and the fact that Limerick are going for 3 in a row, it'll add a little bit of pressure to them, but it has all the ingredients of a great game in 2 weeks' time.
It certainly does, and that's been confirmed for July 18th at 4:15 in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, so bring it on indeed. And just before we let you go, Martin, we spoke about the qualifiers, the real minefield that they are at the minute, and of course Waterford are in there along with Galway, Wexford, Cork, Clare and the winners of Laois and Antrim. They'll enter the All-Ireland Turning qualifiers with the draw to be made at next Monday, July 12th, so that's going to be some draw, Martin, and as I say, what a minefield.
It's going to be incredible. There's just no disrespect to Laois or Antrim. A lot of teams would love to draw them, because it'll get them back on the wagon. They would see themselves as winning that match, and it'll give them a bit of prep going into the next round. And those games will be week after weekend then, So, look, there's a lot of teams that will be looking to redeem themselves. Wexford will see that they were unlucky in normal time. They should have won it. Waterford had a poor outing against Clare. I do think there's a great deal more on Waterford. I was disappointed with them against Clare. They looked a tired team in that opening encounter. But of all the teams in it, to me, Waterford are the team. They will have had that little bit more time, and I think they will be buzzing, and nobody will want to draw Waterford, because I think Liam Cahill will get his team up for it, and it really looks like we're going to have 2 or 3 weekends there of absolutely outstanding hurling, and whoever will get to the semi-finals after, well, by God, they'll have earned it.
They certainly will indeed. There's plenty of hurling to be played, Martin, no doubt so, for the remainder of the summer.
Absolutely, sure. And we're looking forward to it. And the funny thing, Gavin, is it'll be all over by the 19th of August. We're in the thick of it, but it'll be over before we know it.
Certainly will. Back to the clubs then, please God, come the end of the year. But it's fascinating, and it promises to be intriguing, that qualifier draw next Monday as well, and we'll have further reflections on that on our Monday programme next week. So looking forward to that. Martin Kiely, as always, great to get your views, great insights. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you very much, Gavin.
We are WLR.
We are Ireland's local station of the year.